And the last chapter are the weaknesses. As no research is perfect, and your research won't be perfect. You should be aware about that. So in the last chapter, you should show what weaknesses is in your research and what would you recommend as future research directions. For example, the sample is not representative, only one country, one company, or only a young generation. You did not use optimal methods or analysis. You have missing variables, or your observation periods are too short. These are all limits that you should highlight and which are issues and avenues for future research directions. Here are some examples from the studies you have already seen. Naturally, our research is not free of limits. We have only a convenience sample. It's only one study. So in order to find empirical generalizations, it is important to replicate the study with real applications. And so we have only a video that we showed. So it would be interesting to make the same study with real applications that users use in order to measure the trust into the real application. For example, Runkeeper or a health application or a sleep application, in order to really test usage situations where the users really use and are really connected to the objects, and where we really measure actual behavior and not only intentions. Because we only measured intention of use, whereas we know that intention does not really reflect real usage of smart connected objects. So we should do studies that study the impact of SEO on behavioral variables, and that is real usage, reusage, how many times users are connected to the devices, with prototype tests and real application, real SEO data. And so this would really improve the contribution, but yeah, I'm opening a bracket. This is really complicated, but because this means that you need collaborations with firms who are operating this data or these applications. So, but they are first of all reluctant to work with researchers because they want to protect the data. And second, yeah, is also the problem of ethical issues. Can they give us the data? One mean to cope with that would be to get anonymous data. But the main obstacle is still that most firms today are reluctant to work with researchers or universities. It would be also important to improve the study with a representative sample of the French or international population. We only use the snowball sample, which is not representative. And it would be interesting to study new variables in the technology acceptance models, such as perceived congruence. Is the technology congruent with my way of life, for example, but also price question. So the quality price ratio, because we did not consider at all the pricing. Users' well-being. And we finish with the limits and the research directions. And so first, our sample may not perfectly represent the actual smart home target market, as only persons who do not already use a smart home were surveyed, which is the case because very few people today use smart homes. It's only the beginning. So this is one major limit. Second, our sample is a snowball sample method. So it's not necessarily very representative from the demographic point of view. Therefore, future studies should be done with demographic representative samples in the different countries and should include users, real smart home users that might already use smart homes. Another limit is related to our data. It's only a cross-sectional study that is only done at one point of time and not longitudinal study, and does not measure long-term effects. Therefore, future studies should be done over the long term with regular measurements to capture long-term causal effects. That is, to measure it at different points of time. Beyond that, we have also methodologically flaws. So respondents only express their views on smart home technology after watching a short video. This is not enough because clearly it does not really guarantee that people really understand the concept of smart home. Therefore, future studies should be carried out with innovative methodological approaches with real smart homes, virtual reality, as well as simulation, and put the respondents in real life situation. I'm opening a bracket. This is actually what I'm doing with a DBA student of the first batch of the DBA. He's working for AC Assets in Bangkok, and hopefully we might test, he's working on smart homes, and hopefully might test a model or a slightly different model with real smart home users in real smart homes which exist in Bangkok.
And although we acknowledge the important role of culture, our measure of culture is really simplified. So the Hofstede framework is criticized. So it would be interesting to introduce other dimensions which might be more relevant, such as, for example, collectivism versus individualism, social influence, or power the long-term orientation. That is why future research should absolutely integrate other dimensions of culture.
Our research directions and limits, sleeping episodes not really help. So it would be absolutely important to replicate this study with other kind of health apps, pure health apps, more serious health apps, and not so gadget-oriented health apps. For example, which are used to control obesity or diabetes. Furthermore, we did not have access of use and actual indicator of health improvement. It was only based on declarative data. Therefore, it would make sense to collaborate with an app provider to get real use indicators of the real usage and about the real sleep quality, because all this is based only on declarative scales, which have reliability issues and should be done with real data. We only measured 1 week. We need to replicate with longer duration test periods. And finally, last but not least, the sample is a student sample, so we have problems of representativeness. It would be important to replicate the study with real apps, real health apps with real data, and naturally with real representative samples of sleep users, or even better, real health apps. Research directions. And so in our research, there's a major weakness because we have a single informant design with self-reported subjective data, which is a conceivable potential of source of common method bias. In other words, the managers at the same time answered about the impact of big data management and the firm performance. So there's a big bias. So naturally, the managers will probably say, my actions or big data is important. And so it would have been better to measure all the different concepts of big data resource marketing capabilities with scales, and to measure performance with objective firm performance measurements indicators, such as satisfaction, ROE, etc. But we did not have access because as the panel research company in the US sent the questionnaires in an anonymous way, we did not know the names of the firms. If we knew the names of the firms, then we could have searched with the secondary data the firm performance and could have related them to big data capability, resource and marketing capabilities. This was not the case. So future research should take into account that. It's only one country investigations and one sector, B2C, and only big companies. So future research should multiply research in other countries, in Europe, Asia, or other sectors. And data from customers should also integrate it in order to measure the impact also of big data on personalized product service recommendations and subsequently loyalty.